episode 6, we open up with a beautiful scene of Richie and Michael, who is Carmi's late brother, Carmi and Natalie. Richie and Michael are going on about this epic story of this all-night drinking bender they did, where they end up at a bar. It's 6:45 a.m., and the long story short is that Richie's trying to leave this funny voice message. And as he's explaining, he's laughing harder and harder. All of them are finding it funny. Then it pans to a different scene where Richie's actually out to dinner with a woman, and he's telling this story. And her only takeaway was, you were at a bar at 6:45 in the morning? And he's trying to explain and play it off, but then you can see how defeated he is. How, to the average person, when you're telling a story about drinking until 6:45 in the morning, or you're continuing to drink at 6:45 in the morning, doesn't come off as amazing as it does to, say, other cooks or bartenders. It's sad because you can see the defeat in his eyes, and you can see how kind of the breakdown of Richie and where he is in his life, and how he doesn't have a lot other than his daughter and the beef at this moment. And we get a quick transition into the kitchen where Richie's kind of telling the story, but trying to be like boastful of like, whatever, it was her loss, not mine. Quickly, you have Manny, the dishwasher, comes in and just screams, hey, listen up. This is a common problem within restaurants, is people won't take the tape off of deli cups or containers. Masking tape is meant to leave no residue. You pull it off, no residue is left. The problem is, once it gets wet, that glue and all that gets stuck on there. And he comes out and he's just like, hey, it takes 5 seconds to pull this shit off. Once it gets soapy and our hands are all pruny, we can't pull it off. Everyone stops, looks around, he's like, you just yell like that? And Carmi gives him the, yeah? It's like, everyone turns and looks at Manny and goes, yes, chef. He goes, all right, thank you for your time, and leaves. And that's a serious thing. I constantly, 23 years in this business, I have to constantly still yell at people all the time. Take the tape off your containers. If you don't, that residue stays on there forever, and no matter how hard you scrub, it never comes off. So a year from now, if you have like a 6-pan, you'll still have like residue where it picks up grime and all that dirt stays on it. So you have to like sit there and constantly scrape it off. This episode moves very quickly, like a lot of the other episodes, but it goes from scene to scene to scene. In this one, it's hitting really fast. Sydney is showing how green she is and how she doesn't have that much experience running a kitchen, running a restaurant. So she keeps on pushing for different ideas, and she runs up, and as Carmi, the chef, says, give me a minute, I'm thinking about it, she continues to push her idea of to-go food. They're barely running a regular service, which is a huge thing, and a lot, like, this is how the show shows how green and inexperienced Sydney is. Not to say she's untalented. She clearly shows that she has talent and love, and she wants to cook, but she doesn't understand what goes into a to-go program. And most people don't understand that. If they're just people will jump into it. And that's exactly what's happening right now. She's trying to push to the next point of doing to-go food. They can't even get their regular menu set on a daily basis. And Carmi flat out tells her, like, I called everyone you worked for before, and everyone said the same thing. You're incredibly talented, you're incredibly passionate, but you're green and you have no patience. One thing you have to learn in this business is patience, because sometimes it takes years to get something done. To show how volatile a restaurant can be, especially a small restaurant when you only own one, is in comes Natalie asking about taxes, which for a lot of us who've worked in the industry as long as like I have, a lot of people who've worked in this industry, done what I've done for as long as I have, this show is very triggering in a lot of good and very bad ways, because I have worked at this restaurant. I've worked at a place where all of a sudden I have someone coming in being like, I need all of the tax documents for the past like 5 years. Okay, well, let me just pull those out of my ass real quick. That's exactly what's happening. Is they go in there and like, we can't find it because you have an owner who didn't hire an accountant. Hire an accountant. You need an accountant. Okay, if you're not an accountant yourself, you should hire someone. Even if you are an accountant, hire someone else to do it. You have other things to worry about. It's so serious of the fact that the IRS will come and just destroy your business. They'll take everything. They'll take your home, they'll take your car, they don't give a shit about you, they don't care. And that's where the beef is now, where you had Michael, the older brother, not pay taxes or file his taxes in 5 years. So now they have to try and find payroll from 2018. There's a moment now where we're looking at, if you're paying attention to the show, you're really seeing it. You start to see Chicago and the area through the eyes of Richie. He's sad because things are changing and he doesn't want change. He's watching businesses that have been there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years close for some chain like Sweet Greens. You could see the pain in his eyes from watching things change. He's longing for those years with Michael and Carmi when they were first starting out, that there's happiness and nostalgia there. And I can feel that because I've watched it happen to my city, where I've seen things that I love just disappear. And sometimes they're disappearing overnight, where I'm driving down the street and it's very much like, when did that close? Oh, it's a Starbucks now. Great. You're getting to see that a little bit more into Richie of why he is the way he is. Follow that with drive-by and their windows get shot out. Leads to him going outside and talking to the local working guys. He's like, why, I asked you to be across the street, and they said we can't because they're doing construction. It's not safe over there. If they shut it down, they're opening up a Sweet Greens. That just adds to Richie's pain he's feeling for his city basically disappearing. At this point, after Richie's kind of breakdown and talking about how things are changing, we pan over to Marcus, who's still working on his donuts. Being obsessive to the point where you're forgetting or neglecting your other duties is not a good thing. There's a good and healthy level of obsessiveness, but there's a point, especially with a young chef like Marcus, who's going to be forgetting to do his basic duties. He's going to be focusing on one thing and one thing only. You can't do that. And there's a point in time for those things. Typically, honestly, it's on your own time. But you could see him taste a little bit more citric acid, taste almost a little more citric acid, taste, and then he just smiles because he knows like that's the perfect flavor right there. He wanted that like high acid in his cherry compote for the filling for a donut. But those kind of things can bite you in the end. Another quick transition, which is what I love about the show, it just transitions from scene to scene like so quickly, and each scene can have the same level of energy, but a completely different type of energy. We just went from calm, methodic obsessiveness with Marcus working on a jelly donut to the doors opening, they're open for the day, lunch rush is starting, and there's already a line, people are coming in. And this also plays into Richie's problems he's having, which is he doesn't want things to change. First guy who walks in, he has a nickname for him, and he knows him by his first name, Tom. Shakes his hand, knows about his dog having problems with its ears. Those places are hard to find these days. A lot of them are going away, and that's why he's so scared. In every scene, he's afraid that he's going to lose the one thing he has left, which is the beef. That's why he wants nothing to change. There's a great scene right here after opening is Sydney having Tina taste a dish, which looks like a braised short rib with risotto. Very classic. Sydney gets, it's not her first time, but it's a big moment to have Tina be like, good job. In walks Carmi, and Sydney's asked if it's a good time for him to taste this, which is something you want to do. You don't, too often you'll have a young chef just pop up and be like, here, taste this. And it's not the right time. She's asking, basically, for permission. Can you taste this? And he goes, thank you for asking, and taste it. And he goes, it's tremendous. And this is where we get that lack of patience again, where she's like, can we start running as a special? He goes, soon. And she can't just leave it at that. She has to keep pushing of how soon, when is soon, when, why, how. And you can see Carmi hold back and just be like, it's not ready yet. When it's ready, we can go forward. Carmi and Natalie sitting in the office still trying to find payroll from 2018. They're kind of in the and their brother and sister, so there's love there, but there's a little bit of animosity from Natalie towards Carmi, especially because of the beef and what she blames for what's happened to her family. Carmi starts to explain how he's feeling. And Natalie says one of the biggest problems is childish, but you never ask me how I'm feeling. And that's a real thing, And Carmi flat out explains that he doesn't ask, not because he doesn't care, because he does want to know how she's doing and how she's feeling, but because he feels so trapped and he doesn't know how to explain how he's feeling. So it seems insane to ask how others are feeling when he can't even describe his own emotions. And that's called depression, and probably some PTSD. But it's a lovely moment because then he jokingly, but also kind of seriously says, "How are you feeling?" And she just jokes back of, "I'm feeling great. Everything's wonderful," which is also a thing that a lot of people do in our industry and in everything. When you ask someone how they're doing, they go, "I'm fine. I'm doing great," while they're suffering on the inside. The gangsters outside getting into a scuffle with the other gangsters for, whatever businesses they do. Richie's first response is, "Let me get my gun." He's searching all over. Sydney's response is, "Let's go out and just have a conversation," which is the proper thing to do. She gets it to calm down by honestly just offering them sandwiches so that they can sit down and parlay with each other instead of getting at each other's throats. Richie finally finds his guns, hits the corner, and he's ready to start basically shooting. But he sees Sydney, and Sydney goes, "It's handled. And there's definitely a part of him who hates that because she's the new kid and she's basically stepping on his toes type of thing. Immediately into the next scene, Richie's trying to tell Tina the story while they're rocking for lunch service. But Richie's been so used to the past that he's not going to let go, which is causing a lot of turmoil within the kitchen. And finally Tina turns and goes "I'm rocking here, basically leave me alone." And Sydney keeps on pushing "I really need you out on register." And Richie blows his lid, grabs his cigarettes or whatever he has in his hand and just chucks them against the wall, tells her to shut the up. And Tina steps in and is "No, outside now, get out, let's go, we're gonna talk." At this point you're seeing Richie's full breakdown. He doesn't know how to contain himself. He's losing it. His anger is getting the better of him, which happens in kitchens. Tina drives him outside and thought says how basically she's gotten better, 300% better just in a few months. How the kitchen's now clean and how it's organized and how it's smooth and there's no more stress other than the day-to-day stress of having to pump out 200-300 sandwiches. Richie wants to go because he's longing so much for the days of Mikey and him that he doesn't want it to change, even if that change is better. And I've seen this happen. I've seen things change and people, they're angry that things are getting better. And they don't want things to get better because then it's change. It's not the old days. Richie has a quick flashback of smiling and laughing. And up to this point in the modern timeline of the bear, you haven't seen Richie truly smile. He's always solemn in every single scene. The flashback is of him sitting on the counter with Mikey and Carmi and Natalie, and he's just ear to ear smiling. You truly see the sadness in him and what he's going through. Instead of facing it and getting help, he's letting it eat him away. Quick pan into the kitchen, and Sydney's calling out orders. Tina's on grill. Sydney's having call-outs. She's getting called backs. Yes, chef. 86 this, chef. That, stuff like that. It's great. And seeing a kitchen move the way it's supposed to. One thing I love about the show, and what every chef loves, is the accuracy of it. Parmi is cooking a whole chicken spatchcock with bone cut out, flat out. He takes a cake tester, which almost every chef has one, puts it into the thigh next to the bone, pulls it out, and puts it to his bottom lip. If it's hot, it's done. Now we get to see the beef really rocking the way it should be. Sydney's handling the pass really well. Carmi's just cooking just because that's what he wants. He just wants it's the calmness that he loves. The chef loves that moment where you don't have to worry about anything. You're just cooking. We get to see more of the obsessiveness of Marcus, where he's not paying attention, he's not hearing. Sydney calls out dessert drop because for a VIP, and he's not paying attention, he's not doing a callback. So she calls him out by name, "Marcus, you get that?" And he's "Huh? Yeah. Oh, yes, chef. Yes, chef." Bad part of the obsessiveness is when you're failing at your regular duties. And then we get this proper fade out of Carmy being the chef, like, let's get some callbacks, and him apologizing to Sydney, which is the proper thing to do, of just saying sorry for being short and shitty with her earlier, which goes a long way.